Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you're new, you're welcome. So in this video, we are designing this dashboard from scratch. The dashboard is an highly interactive dashboard. Selecting on the city filters the whole dashboard, and that's what we're trying to achieve. If I click on the next page, it takes me to the next page, and we have access to the same KPIs, and we can drill down. We can select as many things as we want, right? So that's basically what we're trying to achieve with this dashboard. To recreate our dashboard, there I have the resource for the background, so I'll put the link so that under the resources in the description box where you would have access to the background or the wireframe, and would have access to the data set I used for this analysis. If you want to import a wireframe under canvas background instead of using an image, you can also set the image color because still sometimes matters, but you would import image under the color. That's where you would have access to image, and then you will set the image fit to fill that's your data in case you do not know how to do that. Other get data, open the drop down and click on text slash CSV file, and you have access to importing the data. It's a clean data. It is not the data set that you need to reclaim or anything. It's a processed data already, so you don't need to transform or clean that process. We're just using this data set particularly for data visualization, right? So let's move right into our analysis. First thing, we are going to add our text box for the title. I always say that the title should be the first thing that a stakeholder sees when they are trying to see your dashboard because that's what explains what you're even trying to do in the first place. So instead of typing my title, I would use the title feature of the text box. I recently discovered this and I realized that it makes so much sense. So I would save it as coffee sales, coffee sales analysis, right? And change the font from this DRN to Sego UI and increase the font to something around 28. This makes our dashboard title very this 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 makes our title very visible. I would also enable the subtitle feature, which explains why I initially wanted to use the title feature. It also enables the subtitle feature. The subtitle feature will be what the page is about, which is sales the overview. So that will be the subtitle feature, and you can also increase it so that it is more visible than this, and then make it an infinite. So I'm not going to use a background for this title because we already have a background. And if you look at this title, you can see that I can barely see what is there because it is in black. The font color is in black. So we are going to change the font color from black to white. So I that immediately I change the color, the text is more visible for me to see, right? And I think that the text is also still too small for me to deal with. So this way, I have something very, very visible to work with, right? So for the subtitle, the spacing is important because if I drag the box down, you can see this line, this little line on the visual that is going to disrupt or distract the attention of our stakeholders. So this is the spacing. So we have to like reduce the spacing to like 2 px. You see that immediately I reduce the spacing, we do not have any problem with our title anymore, right? So after titles, I usually say go to slicers and KPIs, right? So let's go to our slicers. First, I would like us to add a page navigator to our visual because we are using 2 pages for this visual, and that will be the next thing after our dashboard. Plotting what you want to do helps you a lot. There are times that I have to write down, draw my dashboard so that I have a mental picture of what I am doing, and that's what I did today in this dashboard. I have a mental picture of where I am going, right? So, so this is the page navigator we would be using, and we can just leave it this way for now. So we'll just edit this, set for whenever selected, and we do not actually need filler borders for this particular dashboard. We only need an accent bar below our dashboard. That's like what is going on now, what people use now. That's what we're using for this dashboard basically. So the PX should be 3x, please selected. But if not selected, the px will be 2x. So for default, I would change the settings also to white and add an accent back, which is also white, and the px will remain 2. So when I duplicate this page, it's like automatically apply those features that I added. We can move to our slicers. Power BI recently added a couple of slicers, and I would love us to try the slicers. Let's try this one. We are adding our cities as our first slicer, and you can see this filter helps you to search without opening the drop down. Just you can just type in, you know the way they'll say please enter your name. So if I want to do that, I'll just put something like please enter your city. So that's what this slicer does for us. So we can just do something like select city, but we need a drop down. We do not need something that would make people search because this is not specific to a couple of cities. It's specific to who we want it to be specific to, right? So we are just going to use our normal slicer, right? So it is saving as a button layout. And I would advise you to use this kind of thing whenever you have just like two options or three options as your drop down. But if you have something beyond 3, 4, 10, 10 or 8 values, anything more than 4 options, I would not suggest a grid layout slicer. This also doesn't have the option of drop down, and we really need a drop down, right? So I'm letting us explore the options we have for the new slicer options they put in for the new slicer visuals. So as you can see, most of these new visuals do not actually have the option we are looking for. So we would go back to our normal old slicer where we can change the slicer to a drop down. So this is what we need. We do not need more than this for this particular visual. Just give me a slide down. I don't want to list. I don't want you to tell me to input text. So it will be on the upper right of our dashboard. So at the same time, when they are seeing the dashboard, they are seeing that they have the option to also select what they want. We would make some changes to header and the fonts. So we're just basically formatting what we have. And we're using this particular font. This is like my favorite font of all time. I want it to be visible enough. So we can always increase it so our taste. I think font 13 is okay. So we do not want background for our visual. So we're going to turn that off under the general and then under effects turn off background. Then for our slicer values as well, we will open the value option and increase the text. Since we will increase it to 14 as well. Since we've already removed, since we've removed background, we can make the text white. And then I want a particular background for my text, which means that I want a particular color grading for that's what I'm trying to design. First off, I'll change the color of the borders to black, and then for the background, we are using green. So we would have to look for the color code. This particular color code already gives us context, but this is like a cheat code of where I get my color codes, right? So we'll go to our browser site called skincolor.com. It's the website where I get my color codes from to use. So you can really just search for teal color. I think the color we used for this particular dashboard was also teal. If you can't find what you use, you can just keep searching until you get what you need. This blue to it should work for what we need the analysis to do. We just need something deep as blue for our drop down. So let's try this 018283 for the color code. 018283. You can see that the color looks better now. So we'll copy this and paste it. That way we have another slider. So let's look at the header and confirm that it is in the right form. So we will change this city to the date. because we want this to select our date for us. So we use this, and instead of a drop down, we are using a between setting and slicer. You can see that it has given us the value that we want. Change the date using the calendar. It's a very powerful slicer feature. We don't need either for this because it's obviously a date, right? So for our values, we'll use the background we used for our values and change the font color to white. So it is more visible that way. And increase the font so it is more visible to the viewers, right? We'd also change the slider color from ash to this green so that there is a color autonomy. So I added my image using exact image option. Opening the style, click on browse, you select your image, and under action, I enabled the web URL to add the link to my LinkedIn account. That's just what I did to get this on my on the page. I also added a tooltip to show what this explains, which means connect with me on LinkedIn. So when you come to click, it refers you to my LinkedIn account. That's just an explanation for the icon you can see. After finishing the first stage of our analysis, we'll move right into our cards. I usually see after sliders come cards. Click on the background. Next, we would add our new card feature and we would add our total sales. So this would be total sales. Under reference labels for total sales, we'll now add sales amount. The sum would drag and drop into this label. So you have the option to pick, the whether you want the sum or the average, but we need the sum. So we'll select the label that we want to use and then open the drop down and select custom. So that way we'll be able to edit. So we would write the title actual sales, actual sales, and increase the font so that it's more visible. And then we would also add our total discount. So we'll drag this discount amount here so we can see that discount amount is showing. There is something that I learned about using these values. Save the values as the normal format. So we get the display unit to be none and it is not in K. And then for the decimal points, we do not need decimal points, right? So we can just leave the decimal point as one, as zero, sorry, as zero. Then we would repeat the same action for our discount amount. Then click on custom, select all and type in total discount. We would also format our display unit to be none and no decimal points because we want it to be rounded up. Change our layout from list to table so that our values are on the other side of our visuals. So next we would reduce the size of this card and do our formatting. So we are increasing this, then we reduce the size. I think this is even so big. So we do something like this and then we format the major cards, remove the borders. We're going to leave the divider, right, and we'll increase the px of the divider to 3 px, and then we make sure that the color of our divider is black, solid black, in solid black color. Yeah. We leave the background and we'll go down to our callout, open the drop down for our callout value, change the font from DIL to WI, change the shape of the card to a rounded rectangle, and we will increase the corner radius to 45, something around this, and then we leave the background as white. We would add a shadow, so we'd have a shadow outside and make the color black. Change the background, you turn off the major background of the image so that it does not overlap on our dashboard. I think we're already to the vision of what we are trying to achieve now. We would go ahead to the reference label layout. To show us the background of the reference label. For the reference labels as well would increase the font so that it is more visible to see. Then for the title as well, we would also increase the font. So we would increase this and then drag down. Next, we would make sure that the title of our card is the label of our callout, which is our title. On that callout, we would increase the font to 16 so that it is visible. We would make it bold enough so that at the first glance you know that that value you are seeing is for the total sales. And if you remember, we'll change the reference labels value to something that is not summarized. So we'll try to do that also for our callouts. Then we'll change the color of the callout value to 630 and make it bold. This way, at first glance also, you already have an image of what the value is. So I use this one, this color, right? So looking at these values, it's already clear that our values align. So we would have to go back to, since we cannot change our value to a let's summarize the value, we would go back to our reference label and change the value, select for total sales and change the value from the value display units to thousands for both total discount amount and total sales amount. So that way we have something that is aligned. Both our major KPI has a more aligned value with our sub KPIs or our reference values. So we can also select all labels and make it bold so it is easier to read. Then for our title as well, we would also make it bold so it is easier to read. We will use the font so we have all the values showing basically. Um, for our reference label layouts also, we want to increase the gap and open the callout drop down, and for the label, the category label, which is total sales label, increase the font so that it is more readable and accessible. And the color also should be in black so that it is readable and accessible by everyone that uses it. So this is the standard KPI card that we need, and we need three of these to get all our KPI. So Control C and Control V and Control V again. That way we have it in three places. Then we'll just move and try to arrange the way it should be arranged. We have all our values. What we need to change is just the values that are inside our cards. So for the second KPI, we'll be adding our quantity sold. So for quantity, we change the value to total quantity sold. So for our reference label, we go down to reference label and add data for the one with discount and the one without discount. So now we do not have the value for with discount. So we create a measure for that. So under this our table, we would add click on these three dots and click on the new measure. So we'll just write a very simple measure to get the amount of people that use discount, that bought with discount and people that did not buy with discount. Use with discount equal to calculate time rows for our table, which is the data set for coffee sales table. Then add what we want you to filter. So we'll select the table again, then we'll select use discounts and is equal to true. So we close the brackets and control enter, which gives us our which discount value, right? So we'll copy this measure, close this, then create a new measure for without discount. So the only thing we would change from our formula for without discount, we just paste it. We change the name of the formula to without, and then we change this to false, and then very easy that measure to write for a beginner Power BI user, right? So under our reference label, we open the drop down and add data for with discounts, and also add data for without discount. First of all, fix this and convert, type the right value there, which is true, without the value, and for discount we do the same thing, because the reason why our visual is not showing is because we use the wrong parameter. We are not meant to highlight this if it's a true or false value, the boolean value, right? We don't need the bracket inside it, we just need to, so you can see that we have our values very clear and easy. So if you want to find the amount of quantity sold with discount, you would calculate the sum of quantity sold, sum of quantity sold, and filtering using discount, use discount. So that way we have the sum of quantity sold with discount, and then we'll do the same for without discount also. Instead of count rows, we would use sum of quantity sold with the discount option. We have all our values. The only thing we are going to change here, make sure our values are also in bold, and the display unit is also showing none, because we want the exact value, not a rounded up value, right? So we'll also do the same for our with discount and without discount, and change to display unit to none, so that we have the exact value there. We'll make the value bold. So for the title, we'll also make bold. I think the titles are now in bold. I'm just trying to add 1,000 separator for each metric. So for without discount also, I would add the 1,000 separator. And then for quantity sold, I would also add a separator. Under our callout, select the card we want. And then under value, we will change the display unit to none. So it gives us the exact value that we need. And then we'll repeat the same process for our sales value. No, we did not format earlier. So for our callout, we pick for the total sales column, total sales value, and we make our values not summarized. Then for our reference label also, would repeat the same process. You have to select the exact label that you are looking for, that you need to display to give the exact value that we need, right? So we'll also select for total sales and select none. So this way we have the exact value of what we are trying to achieve. So for total sales, for the third KPI, we will change the value from sales to our discount. So we'll select discount amount, and we'll set the metric to the average discount, and then under reference label we'll add that discount amount again, but this time around we are adding the maximum discount, and with that discount again, then this time around we are not adding the maximum, we are adding the standard deviation of the discount. We would move down to formatting. So first we'll format our cards, and we'll select average of discount amount. Under the call out, we select our average of discount amount, and then under value decimal places, we would select two, two decimal points is okay. Then for the value, the call out value will just come down here and change to average discount. Average discount is very understandable to anyone that sees the dashboard, and it includes for our reference label also. We need to change a couple of things. I'm very sure you are getting what we need to change now. We need to make the title bold enough, and then for the it's not meant to be minimum of discount, it's meant to be maximum of discount. So if I select label for maximum of discount and change from field name to custom and change to maximum discount or max discount, then we select for standard deviation of discount. So change from field name to custom and change to control A, change to STD discount. Next thing we will do for decimal places, we will change to two decimal places so that it matches with what we have at the beginning at the major KPI. Then we'll select, go back to select for match of discount, and first of all make the font bold. Then display units, no, not display units, decimal places should be two also, so that it matches with what we have. Everything that we have are in the same format. We are done with our KPIs. The next thing we are going to work with are our visuals. We can close this. We would add a shape that looks exactly like this. So we go down to insert, we select rounded rectangle and bring down to this side. So we look at the size of this. We are keeping the height. So we select the height for this. You can see that the height is the same. So the only thing we need to do now is arrange to fit into our dashboard. So under shape, under the style, we'll open the style, change the fill color to white, and for borders, we do not actually want borders for this image. So the only thing we are going to add now is shadows to differentiate it from our major background, and we can increase the blur as much as we want. But I believe that this is okay, and would also make sure that there is enough space between our visuals. So you can see that our visual is overlapping our calendar. So we'll try to make sure that that doesn't happen. So we'll move it up a little bit. Try to arrange this. Then this also. So we'll drag this to the top right below our slider and basically create space for our slider. You can also drag this down a little bit so that it is not causing too much stress for us. So this way our data is all set, ready for analysis. So under format, we'll open the drop down and click on send to back so that it's not overlapping our visuals that we are adding. So next we would add a not chart, drag to this place. We are bringing it down to this corner and we would click on our sales amount, click on this discount as our legend. So this is what we're meant to have. And we are basically just going to format the colors of our slices. For true would have a less brighter color because it has less values. So we go back to our browser and search for and use the next color, which is this. You can use this teal blue, which is 08 CDB9, and we open the drop down and select 08 CDB9, 08 CDB9. Then for false, we would use our usual color theme, which is 008668. So now, I particularly want false to be on the right because it has more values. So I'll rotate my head this way. Then I'll turn off the legend because we want the values to be shown in our detail labels. So go down to detail labels, open detail labels, and select all detail labels. So it gives us the value and the percentage. And if they do not want to do that, can also only select the category and percentage of total. So that way we have all our values. And for the values, we would make sure that it is readable by our audience. We change the font to black and make it bold enough to be readable. So at first glance, everybody knows what we are saying. So for title, we would also change to sales by discount instead of sales total amount sold by something confusing. You just fix that and then change the font. It's very important that you use a consistent font for your titles. Just build consistency across your visuals. Then you turn off your background. Now you have your visuals. So you're trying to move it so that it doesn't take too much space as we are going to add top customers by discount. Top customers that got discount. So I would normally use the customer name, but this data did not form with the customer name. Five customers by customer ID should be on the x axis while the discount amount should be on the y axis. As you can see, we have something that's not readable by our stakeholders. So we change to a bar chart and then under the filter pane, we would open the drop down for customer ID and use top N as our filtering. So click on top N and use 5. Then if you're selecting 5 values, you go to the discount amount and click on apply filter. That way you have only the customers with high discount values. So we format this so for ton of grid lines. Some of title for our x axis, also for some of the values for our x axis as well. Then for our y axis, we turn off title for value to 11 to change this customer ID data type, probably to a text. And it is in number format, but I want to format it to a text because we are not getting the calculation from it. The only thing we need is for the visual. And as you can see, the way I changed it from a number format to a text format, we have a normal bar chart. Change the color of our dashboard to green, and then for the layout, we would increase the space between the categories to 20, enable our data labels for it to show the values that you have, and for the values, we would make bold and would increase the font to 10 and change the font color to black. So to black for our y-axis, we make the value in black color. So I'm trying to do a conditional formatting for the categories so that regardless of which category I'm selecting, there is an indicator for the lower values and the upper minimum values. So we'll use some of these counters. You can use a gradient fill so that the lowest value has this color. You can always go back to your color check website 080 BD9. That's the color we use for the lower value. So we change to 080 BD9. Then for you can add the middle value as well. Middle value should be 00B for 9C. So we click on more colors and change to 00B for 9C. Then for our maximum value, we use our usual color code, that's 008668. So we'll open this drop down 0086 and change to 008668. So automatically we have our gradient field. Remember, we do not want legend for our conditional formatting. So we'll turn off the legend. We go try to change the title to top 5 customers by discount. So 5 customer ID, top 5 customer customer ID by discount. So I think there's a typo here. Customer ID by discount, and we'll change the text font to this UI and make it bold. And then for effects, we turn off the background because there is already a background. So this is what we have for price customer ID by discount, and this already makes a lot of sense. If you would ask me, let's also make sure that all our values are on the same page, right? So we can drag down a little, try to make sure that everything is in the same place. Then drag this down also a little, and then also drag this table down, this bar chart down a little bit. This shape, we're going to copy it and paste 3 times. So the first one will be below our card, and it will go as far as the ending of our chart, right? So the second one also will go below this and go as far as the ending of our chart. So this will be at the last value. So we're going to change the style because the background is already white. So we're going to change the shadow style center, leave it at center, and see that starting of the transparency, we already have the correct shadow. So we'll format the painter on this and also format the painter on this. Remember, we copied and pasted twice. So this one will go down to the last part, and we just make it wide enough to contain this space, right? We would also make sure that it's on the same size, and for this as well, make sure that it is on the same borders with our first visual, and arrange. Then make sure that the spacing is not too obvious. So this way we have all our visuals in one site. So next we'll be adding our discounted sales versus actual sales by product. So we'll add our final sales, which is discounted sales, and our sales amount, and then by product. So we'll be using a clustered bar chart for this visual, and our y-axis will be the product, right? So this is what we need to do. So we'll just try to fix this visual into this space that we have. You can remove the box here and then increase the box here. Also remember that we need to send this to back. So click on a blank screen, select your image. You can select this image and format your printer on this image so that it helps us to clear out all the issues that we might have when it comes to formatting. The only thing we need to change now is the title and the colors. So for title, we'll change it to discounted sales versus actual sales by product, and make sure that this is in the box gets formatted. You can do the wireframe using PowerPoint presentation to get all these values, but I just want this dashboard to be as easy to design using Power BI as possible, right? So for we go back to our visuals, then under the bars, we'll select for final sales, which is our discounted discounted sales. So let's first of all change it here to avoid confusion. Change the final sales to discounted sales. Then we change this to actual sales, actual sales. So for our bars, we select the discounted sales, and it will have a lighter color because it has a lesser value. That's what we're trying to show with our dashboard. The lesser values have a lighter color, right? Then for actual sales, we'll use a darker color. Then we'll add a legend at the bottom of our visual, so bottom center, and to just give our um to just give an instance as to what we are trying to describe. So we'll copy this and paste it. Then we'll drag to the other side of our shape, and we are changing from this discounted sales to sales amount, the actual sales amount. Then our legend will be use discount. So it's going to help us to divide the values automatically. So now we are going to change the title from discounted sales versus. So we'll just change the value to sales by product. Sales by product. Then for our colors, we'll go down to bars, select for false. What color does false have here? False have the deep green color, right? So we'll change the color for false to deep green, and then the color for true to the light blue color. So that way we have a representation of what we are trying to achieve. So we reduce the box a little bit, then we would add this particular line stroke, we'll add it to the middle to be able to differentiate our dashboard. So we'll reduce the size to this space. So don't be worried if you cannot see any line. We're going to come down to the format. First of all, turn on the fill. Then under the border, we'll change the border color to black because that's like the border color we've been using all day. Then for rotation, we would rotate the shape towards 180 degrees. Let's increase the size so we'll have a visual visualization of what we're trying to achieve. So we'll increase to 90 degrees. 90 degrees is a straight line, right? So we'll increase the border as well to 2 px so that it is more visible to see. And then we'll now reduce and bring down to this part of the visual. So we'll just reduce the size properly so that it is not overlapping anything, any of our visuals, right? So we'll reduce the size as well. Just drag play around basically with the borders. So this way we have a line that is replacing our visual. So we'll move to our next visual, which is the total sales by city. So we would select the city. You can also copy one of the visuals. You can copy this visual and paste it and drag down here. So we'll just put it into this box, something like this. Then we'll change to a clustered column chart first. Then we'll unselect the customer ID value and select the city ID. So that way we automatically have our visual, which makes it very, very easy to work with, right? Always remember that you need to turn off the background, make sure that you dot your eyes and cross your T's. So you change from top 5 IDs by discount to total sales by city. Total sales by city. So um, remember, we're using total sales, right? Not discounted amount. So replace this to total sales because that's what we're using for our total sales value. But we can also change this to discounted sales instead so that we do not have a problem So we'll just change the name of this final sales to discounted sales. Under this part, we'll also change the call out value for this card. So we'll change the sales value to discounted sales. So this way it's not causing confusion between our visuals. So also here we come down to our title and change to discounted sales. So we have discounted sales like city discounted as actual sales. So here we are using the actual sales amount, right? We have to change. So the next thing we are adding is our sales trend quarterly. So we'll add our hierarchy to quarter and year, right? And then drag into this box. We're adding two visuals into this box, so we need to be very careful. So we can use the total sales amount and we want it to be a
clustered column charts. I had to drill down for the quarter.
so we can remove the year option so that it filters for quarter. But I also want this dashboard to feature the year option. So you can just leave it this way and leave the opportunity for whoever wants to access this to use the drill down option to drill down if they want. But we want sum of sales by quarter, right? So would format printer.
From the discounted sales by city chart to sales trend chart, so it has the same formatting on both ends. So if you notice, you see that this particular rectangle shape is overlapping, so I'm going to reduce the corner radius
To 8. Reduce the corner radius so that our visuals are showing the way they should. So moving forward, we change the title of this visual to sales trend. Just sales trend basically. They know what we're trying to achieve. So we can now add a subtitle to give a drill down of what we want them to, what we want it to drill down on. Right. So this is what we are trying to achieve. So we'll just Ctrl C and Ctrl V this value to get the quantity sold also. Change this sales trend, we change the sum of sales amount to quantity sold, this quantity value. So we are dragging this to the x axis and we have our description. So we'll just use total quantity sold as our title. So we'll have total quantity sold, total quantity sold. So that is like the end of page one. We can now change the page one to sales overview. Then we'll duplicate this page to get our page two. You can see that we have all our visuals already in page two. So change this to details.
after we've created a new page. We would fix our page navigation default, would fix the accent bar from the left to the bottom. For selected as well, we repeat the same process. Remember, for selected, our px should be higher because we want it to be different from the default value. So that way we fixed our page navigation. Would also increase our font for both default and selected. Since it is a new page, we have to change the title of the new page. So we'll go down to title. We will leave the title, but the subtitle we have to change it from sales overview to product
And customer details. So for our KPIs, we're going to change the KPIs, but starting from our visuals, we're going to start changing one after the other. So we'll change it to the customer discount rate. So instead of sales amount here, the values will be the count of the people that use discount. You just want to know the amount of people that actually got discount. So we can use something like this discount distribution. So the people that got discount and the people that did not, then it will be customer, surprise customers by sales, not discount amount. So instead of discount amount, we use sales amount. So you can see that the same customers that we had, most of the same customers that we had for surprise that got discount are the same customers that also bought as many products as possible. So that's the higher the amount you buy, the higher the products that discount that you will get. So we'll change this to sales. So we'll make sure that we change to actual sales. Then for our visuals, our remaining visuals, we'll change this to total discount by product. So instead of discounted amount by product on the shelf, it will be total discount by product. So go back to our visuals, unselect the discounted sales amount and the sales amount, and we use discounted amount as our value. So we'll turn off the legend because we do not need legend anymore. Then for our actual sales by product as well, we'll change it to the unit price by product. So we'll unselect the ones we have at the beginning and change to unit price. So before you change this value, you need to make sure that the titles are also changed. Right, so this title will be total discount by product. Then for this one, it will be unit price by product. So all we are doing is replicating the same dashboard but different metrics. So we'll also turn off the legend. For the third column chart, we'll change this from sales to quantity. So you know that we are trying to see the amount of quantity sold and the stock. So we'll change it to quantity. And then for the title, we would also change to total quantity sold by city. We would use discounts as our legend, whether they use discount or not. So that will be our legend.
We'll go to visuals and turn on the legend.
We are also going to change from city to product.
Since it's by product, I just decided to unclick the use discount option, then turned off the legend, then change the title from city to total quantity sold by product.
Then this sales trend. So we do not want to use a trend anymore. We would use, we would select the product with discounts for this price value, right? And turn off the subtitle because we do not need a real value. So discounted product, product with discount,
This sounds better than discounted products.
turn off the subtitle and Ctrl C and Ctrl V so that you do not have to go through the stress all over. So you will remove this value and then drag this down. So we'll increase the size and change from with discount to without discount. So you can see that Colombian high with discount and without discount, right? So we just change the title from product with discount to product without discount. So without discount. And we have our dashboard. So moving to when I contribute on sales value, I had access to my first page, which is the sales overview page. So I'm trying to fix the values on this page as well. Under the style, I would increase the font to 14 for default so that for selected, I would also do the same thing and increase the font to 14 and then I would increase the accent bar for the selected value to 4 so that there is a difference between our selected under default. The accent bar should be on the bottom. Today we already have access to everything we need to fix. We fixed all our issues. So we have our dashboard, and we are good to go with our analysis. Thank you so much for watching. If you love this video, please like, comment, and share to your friends that are also trying to build a Power BI dashboard.